Dismissed to the back. The first are the youth ages 3 to 8. Please stand and go with Sister Logan. Amen. 3 to 8. We're heading out the back. And Miles, if you would stand at this time, if you are 9 through high school, you all can go in this education area back here, 9 through high school. Amen. Go with Miles for youth empowerment. Hallelujah. To God be the glory for the good things He has done. When I think about the goodness of Jesus and all that He's done for me, my soul cries. Hallelujah. Amen. Anybody glad to be in this service today? Amen. Anybody glad to just lift up the name of Jesus on today? Amen. Amen. If we can get both of these doors closed, if they can have their privacy, and we won't excited about the Word of God. I'm glad for young people to get excited. Amen? Amen. I'm glad for young people to get excited. Amen. About the Word of God. And there is a word from the Lord on today. Amen. It's found in the Gospel according to St. Luke. And it's the 18th chapter, verses 38 and 39. Luke, the 18th chapter, verses 38 and 39. If you have it, say amen. Amen. And let us read that together. And he cried, saying, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And they which went before rebuked him, that he should hold his peace. But he cried so much the more, thou son of David, have mercy on me. I want to talk to you briefly, continue with the thing best you ever, as bad as I need Jesus. As bad as I need Jesus. Anybody in the house today could be real with yourself and be honest with everybody in the building this morning, this afternoon, and give testimony to how bad you need Jesus. That you couldn't make it an hour, you couldn't make it 1 second without Jesus. Reminded of an illustration that I said when I was riding along with CJ, and we were talking with his mom, amen, my beautiful wife, and we were talking about what we were going to eat, and we talked about getting us some good old lemon pepper wings, and this was after we had fasted, and it was right after Easter, and I could eat fried food again, and I told her that, hey, I'll pick up some chicken and we'll be home, and as I was closing the statement, I made the comment that I want some fried lemon pepper wings so bad that I would give my firstborn. CJ didn't like that. He didn't think there was anything I could want that bad to give my firstborn. But when we look at it in the context, we should ask ourselves, what are we willing to give in order to have just a little more Jesus? You know, we see in this text that Jesus was on his way in to Jericho, and this was a road that was well traveled, and prior to coming to Jericho, Jesus had just told his disciples of his impending death, that he would die, but in 3 days he would arise again. And when after telling him that he was on his way to Jericho, and on his way to Jericho, there was somebody that really needed Jesus. Yes. And can I tell you this morning that on your way to church, on your way to work, you ought to realize how bad you need Jesus? Yeah. Matter of fact, the musician wouldn't have to prime and pump you if you realize how bad you need Jesus. We wouldn't have to tell you to say amen if you realize how bad. Yes, sir. We would have chairs in the aisles this morning if we realized how bad we need Jesus. Yes. But here we see a man that had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that he couldn't pass up. And can I tell you that every worship experience is a once-in-a-lifetime experience? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. See, somebody is waiting on God to trouble the water. And here, we feel like we can just come back next season. Hello, somebody. And if I don't get it then, I'll get it now. But somebody needs to realize that, Lord, if you are doing it in this season, don't do it without me. Lord, if you're healing in this season, Lord, if you're delivering in this season, Lord, don't do it. Yes, sir. Without me. So the question I have for you this morning is, what's going to stop you from getting to Jesus? What's stopping you from getting to Jesus? And can I put this in here for free? Is that if we're going to have our best year ever, we can't do it without Jesus. You know, in Bible study, we're talking about overcoming negative thoughts and limiting behavior, limited thinking. We're talking about completing the past. And next time we're going to start out talking about setting smarter goals. But we can do all of that. But if we don't put Jesus first, we're not going to have our best year ever. So the question I'm asking is, what's going to stop you from getting to Jesus so you can have your best year ever? Can I superimpose that sometimes we can be in church but still don't have a relationship with Jesus? Yeah, because sometimes people get the building and the relationship mixed up. Hello, somebody. Sometimes you can be in a house with a person you're married to, but y'all really don't have a relationship. In the same manner, you can be in the church, but don't have a relationship with Jesus. And many times, if we're in the church and don't have a relationship with Jesus, there are some things that are stopping us from having that relationship. So what is it that's going to, and that's the wrong title that was last week. I forgot to change that, but I did get the points right this week. Point number 1, your condition. Verse number 35 says, as Jesus was coming near Jericho, there was a blind man sitting by the road. Now, but not only was he blind, but he was sitting by the road begging. Yes, sir. So this man was no stranger to sitting by this road. Why? Because in this particular context, or in this particular day and time, we did not have the social, economic things that we could use to help people in need. He didn't have food stamps. He didn't have disability to fall back on. So the only thing he could do as a blind person, he couldn't work. The only thing he could do was sit by the road and beg. Can I tell you, too many of us are looking down at this beggar, but we sit in the same seat as this beggar? Oh, Jesus. But here, although he had conditions, he refused to allow his conditions to keep him from getting to Jesus. So what were his conditions? The first condition is that he was visually challenged. In other words, the text says that he was blind. So even though he could not see, at some point he was able to get to this road every day. And can I tell you that physical sight really doesn't stop you from doing what you really want to do? Matter of fact, I believe we got one witness in the house today that even when your sight leaves, you can still find a way to the house of God to God enough to press my way to church on Sunday morning. Some of us gonna get an eye exam and say we ain't gonna be there for 2 weeks.
Amen.
So he did not allow his condition to keep him from getting to Jesus, because the Bible says in 2 Corinthians that what? We walk by faith and not by sight. And I believe that Sister McCrae is here this morning not by sight but by faith. Oh my God. Yeah. You can't allow your condition to keep you from Jesus, but not only was he visually challenged, but he was financially challenged. No, I ain't got no gas. Man, I got to get to work next week. Hello, lights. No, I'm not going to be able to make it to church because I need the gas to get to work. If you would just realize that the God that you serve, if you would just press your way and get a word for your situation, not only will you have the gas for next week, but he'll give you gas for the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. Hello, somebody. I wish I had a witness in here that you don't know how you keep making it, but every time you turn around, he keeps on blessing you. I got any witnesses in here that know how I really feel to be blessed? Yeah, every time.
Yes, sir.
Every time.
Every time.
You turn around.
Amen.
He keeps on blessing you. So this man was not going to allow his visual challenges, but he also was not going to allow himself being financially challenged. He was sitting there begging. But he was begging without sight. He was asking for something that he couldn't even see. Oh, God. See, sometimes we need to know what faith is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So here he was on the roadside asking for something that he would never be able to see. But he realized that the things that he was asking for, we're not talking about from Jesus yet, we just talking about from other people, that the things that he was asking for was beneficial to his welfare. So even though he couldn't see the money, he realized that he needed it to survive. Hello, somebody. And a lot of times in our relationship with Jesus, we can't ask for something that we can't see coming to pass. Well, I can't see how I'm going to get that house. I can't see how I'm going to get that promotion, so I'm not going to ask for it. Well, faith is that very definition. I'm going to ask for it even though I don't see how God is going to bring it to pass. Any faith walkers in the house today say, Lord, I'm going to ask for it. I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how you're going to bring it to pass, but Lord, I'm going to trust you.
Amen.
So he didn't allow his condition. The next thing, he didn't allow his crowd to keep him from Jesus. And can I tell us that that's most of our problem? Is the crowd. Luke 18:38 says, and he cried, saying, Jesus, thou son of David. See, 35 talks about the condition. 36, he hears a noise and he asks the crowd, what is that? And then the crowd tells him in verse number 37 that it is Jesus. And 38, he cries out and says, Jesus, thou son of David, what? Have mercy on me. But look what the crowd does. And they which went before. What do you mean? went before me, they were standing in front of him. The road that Jesus was coming down, he back there blind. And the Pharisees and the religious folks standing up front. You see how we get church all messed up? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When Jesus came into that house to preach, the Bible said that the house was full of Pharisees, but there were one that was carried by four. Hello, somebody. Yes, sir. That couldn't get in the house. In other words, he had a situation. Yes, sir. But he couldn't get in the house. And the problem is that we don't understand how it feels to be in a situation. And the folks that should be helping you are sitting back telling you to be quiet. So here this man was in the back, and that was the road to Jericho. And here he was, he had his bucket, and he was sitting up begging, and he heard a noise. And they told him that noise was Jesus. So he realized that he had a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You know what? I can't see him. I don't know what's going on, but they tell me it's Jesus. Oh my God. See, sometimes you have to help folk realize who Jesus is. And when he realized that, he called out his name. He said, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And it sounds like that if you are in the midst of church folk, and here you are blind, and here you are begging, and you can't keep a job, won't nobody hire you. It seemed like somebody would have picked him up and carried him closer to where Jesus was. But instead of picking him up and moving him closer, the church folks said, shh. Yes, sir. Shh. You're making too much noise in the church. It don't take all of that. You need to quit dancing and giving God praise in the church. But the text says, because as bad as I need Jesus, you want me to come to church and sit down? As bad as I need Jesus, you want me to come to church and hold my peace? As bad as I need a healing, you want me to come to church and not give God praise? The next verse said, when they told him to be quiet, the Bible said that he cried out even loud, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Oh my God. And can I tell you the problem that we have in this text, that we have in the church? The Pharisees, Jesus coming down the street. I'm the big. I kind of look like that, right? They up front. They want to be seen. Hello? Yeah, church folk. I ain't talking about saved folk. I'm talking about church folk. They up front because they want to be seen. But here I am where I can get. I'm crying out, but not because I don't want to be seen, but I want to be healed. Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. The reason some of us can't get our deliverance is because of the people we are around. sometimes you got to learn how to get through the crowd. And when you can't be seen, you ought to thank God that you can be heard. Because my Bible says that the prayers of the righteous availing much. I thank you for that. The Bible says that because they wanted to be seen, they was okay with being seen. But he wanted to be healed. That he cried out to the Lord. And can I ask you a question this morning? Why are you here this morning? To be seen or to be delivered from what you're going through? And can I tell you that some of y'all in here, and I'm just got to be real because there got to be one in every church, just came to be seen. But I'm going to show my face. If we need you, tell somebody to look at you on Sunday morning, because when I come in here, I'm in need of God delivering me. I need a breakthrough. So when they ask me, did you see what Sister So-and-so had on? No, I didn't see what she had on, because that didn't matter to me. I came for a healing. But when you come just to be seen, that's all you gonna get. So I saw him. I saw him. He was sharp. Oh, but those that came to be healed, those that came to be delivered, those that came to be set free, don't let anybody drown out your praise. When they tell you to stop praising, you are crying to God. When they tell you to sit down because they can't see, you ought to jump a little high. When they tell you to stop laughing because they can't hear, you ought to clap a little louder. Everybody needs here. Needs Jesus as bad. Can you imagine? As bad as I need Jesus, I'm blind, I'm begging, but you want me to hold my peace. As bad as I need Jesus, I'll cry out till I can't cry out any longer. As bad as I need Jesus, as bad as I need a bill paid, as bad as I need a healing, as bad as I need my family saved, as bad as I need a promotion, you expect me to come in here and not give God the praise? The Pharisees needed Jesus, but they were self-righteous. The Pharisees needed Jesus, but they thought they had it going on. They could make it on their own. But this man been blind long enough to realize that I can't do it by myself. Oh my God. Leave that there. So the crowd, don't allow the crowd to keep you from getting to Jesus. Because as bad as you need Jesus, you're not going to quiet me. So in comparison to Mark 2, this paralyzed man in Mark 2 had a few good folks around him that realized if I could just get him to Jesus, everything will be all right. See, you don't need a crowd. You just need one or two good friends that you can depend on. You just need one or two good folks that'll help you in your time of need. You just need one or two good folks, somebody, that'll take your cares to the Lord in prayer. Anybody in here realize that you don't really need a whole bunch of friends? So, don't allow your condition to keep you from Jesus. Don't allow your crowd to keep you from Jesus. The last point is don't allow your come up to keep you from Jesus. Because a lot of folks will seek after Jesus until they get the come up. tax season about to hit. Okay, can I get real? You know we got friends that's tax rich. Can I be real? We got some friends that are tax rich. I know somebody that all of a sudden when they get their taxes, they don't call like they used to call. They for at least a few months, they driving something different. Hello, somebody. They wearing something different. Hello, they eating out at restaurants they wouldn't normally eat out at. Hello, somebody. Somebody about to come up. When them taxes drop, we're about to come up. But look. And I ain't mad at you. Luke 18, verse 40 says, when Jesus commanded this blind man to be brought unto him. Why did Jesus have to command it when it should have been done in the first place? But at this point, Jesus stood and commanded him to be brought unto him. And when the blind man came near, he asked the blind man, what wilt thou that I shall do unto thee? Blind man looked back, talked back to him and said, Lord, that I may receive my sight. And Jesus said unto him, receive thy sight, thy faith has saved thy sight. Oh my God. So why did Jesus say that your faith has saved your sight? Because when you were down here shouting my name, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all of these other religious folks told you to be quiet, you could have hushed your mouth. He said, but when I heard them tell you that instead of hushing your mouth, you cried even louder. That means you believe that I can do what you're asking me to do. And can I tell you the reason we don't praise God like this blind man? Because some of us don't believe that he can do what we're asking him to do. Oh, I'm talking. You don't mind if I break it off. Hunter, you go over there. Go pick up that stuff in your room. Hunter, chill. Hunter, go get that stuff in your room. Now, if I got to tell you one more time to go in that room and pick up your stuff. That's it. We're crying because we know that he's able. Right. If we didn't know he was capable, we wouldn't be screaming at him. Oh my God. See, if he's hurt, he's sick, ain't nobody bugging him about doing much. But when he's capable, we'll say it to the top of our lungs. When we realize that Jesus is capable, ain't nobody gonna hush him because, Lord, I know you're able. Heal my body. Deliver me from my disease. Bring my family back together. Save my soul. And then he said, your faith. Because you believe I can do it. And he said that your faith has saved thee. Okay, can I get a shout for verse number 43? 43. See, this is when the Bible talks about now faith. Look what happened. The Bible says in verse number 43 that immediately he received his sight. Oh, somebody ought to shout right now, God, right now, God. We're not telling God to do it, but we know God is what? Able. The text says immediately That little man walked out that little back room. You approve. Oh, about to come up. The doctor said you can go and ring the bell now. Come up. You go back for the reevaluation and they tell you what I saw before. I don't see right. I'm talking about a come up. But what I love about man is that when he had his come up, it still didn't keep him from getting to Jesus. Now watch this now. The text says immediately he received his sight. But after he received his sight, the text said he followed it. But not only did he follow him, but he glorified God. Yesterday, I was begging. And I couldn't support myself. I couldn't see. People had to take me everywhere I wanted to go. But when I got to Jesus, I ain't begging no more. I can see. Now we got two choices. Some of us will say, oh, I got what I need now. Oh, pal, I ain't gonna be there Sunday. Yeah, I can see past some places I've been wanting to go, but I ain't been able to see. And I got to go to some of these places. Oh, Pastor, I can see now. I got a good job. I'm about to travel. I'm about to live my best life. Oh, you don't act like you don't know nobody like that. You get to come up, then all of a sudden you don't need the thing that allows you to come up. But this man didn't allow his come up to separate him from Jesus. The text said that when he immediately received his sight, he followed Jesus and he glorified God. Oh my God. Do I have anybody in here that wants your blessing bad enough that you're willing to say, Lord, will you bless me? Lord, will you give me what I've been asking for? Lord, will you do this thing? I'm not going to turn my back on you, but Lord, I'm going to follow you. But not only am I going to follow you, but I'm going to glorify your name. Anybody in here ready for your power? You know what? Sometimes you don't have to wait to praise God after he does. Sometimes you got to praise God for what he's about to do. And I wonder, if I got about 5 folks that need God bad enough, that you will praise God for what he's about to do. But can I tell you what the Bible says? back in the background, bread begging. The boy that carried the paralyzed man, he didn't get to his healing while he was up here. He had to be brought low. And can I tell you, you really want to move Jesus? Humble yourself before the mighty hand of God. I dare you to go low. I dare you to tell him about the problem. I dare you to tell him about the trouble. Lord, if I can just get to you. You know what? Some of y'all woke up this morning, didn't feel like coming to church. Had some other stuff you really needed to do. But something hit you and told you as bad as you need Jesus. Whatever it takes to get to the Lord time. Because there's a healing in this house. There's a deliverance in this house. There's a breakthrough in this house. As done as I need Jesus. What's stopping you? What's stopping you from getting what you need from God? People are going to push back. They're going to tell you, we don't need to do that. You giving church all your money, ain't got none. But I'm going to trust him with what I have. Oh my God. Listen, you know, and I thank God for learning. When you learn to trust God, and some of us, we have, and we're going to deal with this more, financial burdens. What's stopping you from doing what it takes to break that financial curse off of your life? Your condition. Because you feel like you don't have nothing to give. Your crowd, because folks telling you they don't do right with the money. But can I tell you that since I've been tithing, I had come up after come up, after come up, after come up. See, I tried. And y'all see me give publicly to these kids or to whoever. That's for instruction.
Right. Amen.
That's for me being an example to you all.
Right.
But where my blessings really come from is the giving I do that you all don't even see. But what I decided to do was get to Jesus and trust him with the first fruit. We want God to bless us, heal us, deliver us. But we can't trust God because we afraid that our condition might get worse. Well, sometimes you just need to realize that it's bad, and it might just get better if you trust Him. So learn to trust God. Trust Him. Look at this blind man. He was blind and begging yesterday. But by the time we got to verse 42 and 43, the Bible said that he could see. Hallelujah. 8 verses, he went from blind and begging to seeing and praising God. So I asked you, how many sermons are you away from trusting God? That's what it's really all about. I'm not here for me. I'm here to tell you what God is saying. God wants you to have your best year ever. But we can say it. We can post it. We can tattoo it. But if we don't operate in the Word of God, it's still not going to happen. Listen, let's do it. Let's be about it. And I told the Wednesday night crowd that, we've been having homework that's going to put these applications into practice. Some do it, some don't. But you know what? I saw something on Facebook and it encouraged me. And it told me, don't beg folks to get in the boat. Just keep building the ark and preaching that it's going to rain. So that's what I'm inclined to do. I'm going to keep preaching and keep teaching, helping us to have our best year ever. But it's up to you to get on board. Amen. The doors of the church are open. Let us stand.